It was pretty touch and go, I would say, to start. I mean, we didn't even know we were going to have a season until maybe the week before the first meet was even there, and some teams had practice. And so I think for me, I really leaned on asking advice from other coaches around just the conference, but other coaches I knew across the country on what they're doing and how they're setting up their practices, and kind of running some of my ideas around them to see, how are we, as a conference, how are we going to conquer this thing and give our kids opportunities to compete? And so I kind of was pulling from a lot of different sources to make our plan, because again, like every week was touch and go, and with the city of Denver's protocols were different than some of the protocols that other schools were following, and so I think we ended up having some of the rougher times with that, because with the mask thing, some of the other programs probably weren't having to deal with having to wear a mask when they ran all the time, whereas we were. So there were some different things in that, but I definitely was asking around to try to make the best cohesive plan we could for the program. Yeah, there's more of a mental adjustment than anything. I don't know that it was limiting them in a ton of capacity, but at the same time, we moved our practice away from the city of Denver, moved into some of the area suburbs, and started training out there where the mask rule wasn't enforced, I guess, or wasn't even there. So we moved out to Inglewood, and we're training there where we could run more freely, and it was a less densely populated area where there wasn't too many people out exercising in that spot. So we moved our stuff there to make it easier on the athletes, and it seemed to work out pretty well. The biggest thing for us is we had to break apart the programs, men's and women, and even on the track side. So we haven't really seen much of the track team, and in some capacities, the guys haven't seen very much of the women's team. So it was a weird dynamic, but I think it also allowed us to have a little bit more cohesiveness between the two teams. The guys really started understanding the guys, and the girls really started understanding the girls, and I think that's a big part of it, because as we continue to build, is that they need to understand each other and then eventually mesh that into one. And so I was pleased, although it was kind of concerning at first, it ended up working itself out the way that I had kind of hoped. When we started the cross-country season, it was, like I said, it was touch and go. You didn't know if you were going to have a meet next week or what that was like. And then setting up your training to allow the kids to have the most success was really difficult too. But we did add Aaron Norton, and Alden's an All-American, and Aaron's both an All-American, and that's really been helpful in maturing some of the younger girls on the team, like Jenna and McKenna and girls like that you've kind of see have these breakout years. It's just been good to have that kind of firepower, at the front, because a lot of problems with young programs is they don't know how to win. And so having those type of caliber kids allows you to do those type of things. And so, going into the season, I really viewed it more as an opportunity for the team to just progress and kind of go through some of the motions that you would go in a normal season, but really have the opportunity to learn for the following year when we could really go after a national title or be in the top 3 in the country. And so for both programs, that was kind of the thing. Let's learn. This is an opportunity to kind of get some races in, but also understand about what we are, who we are, and how we operate, was kind of the more outlining objective for us to start. When you're a new coach and taking the reins of a program, it can be a little bit rocky from time to time. But having all underclassmen, in my really true first year here, has been nice, and you're going to go through those growing pains, and I think you saw that from the men's program week in and week out. They're having to up their level of expectation, and they're being asked to do a considerable amount of work compared to what they were doing in high school, and you're going to go through those patches. But again, everything for them is about learning and getting to the point where next year, okay, now we're in this position where we can make national meets. Okay, we've learned a lot. We've kind of seen what the RMAC landscape looks like, and we'll be more prepared as we walk into the fall next year with them too. Anytime you have an older guy that's kind of seen some of the ins and outs of what you do is helpful, and I think Ruben was a good example of that, as was Nick Nallen and Brandon Bodner, people like that. But yeah, Ruben is definitely somebody that I leaned on, and I really tried to challenge him to take the lead of this team and to guide him, because when I think about taking over programs or being a part of a program, is at the end of the day, when you graduate or you move on in your coaching career or whatever it is, did you leave the program in a better place than what you found it? And so that's kind of the message that I've had for Ruben all along is let's try to make this into the program much better than what you inherited it as. And so he's really taken a big focus on that and has done a good job with that type of attitude and making sure the guys are on the same page, and it's just been really helpful. Everybody gets that waiver, so, and that's the other thing that I really tried to emphasize with the teams. A lot of you guys have a great opportunity, something that's probably never happened before, where you're going to get an experience and you're going to be able to come in and learn a lot of different things, and then you get to reapply that to the following year. And even for somebody has run as fast as Erin Norton and has done great things in her life, she needed the year to kind of understand what it was like again and what that felt like. And nothing's more evident of that than when you watch us run our first race. I mean, we went out, we tried to dominate the thing, which was not advised by me, but they were excited and they hadn't competed in 6 months. They had been in lockdown for a considerable amount of time, and so they did some things that are probably more uncharacteristic, but again, like, it was about learning and finding those patterns of what we're trying to do again. And so it's worked out. A lot of people probably viewed it as a negative. I tried to view it more as this is a positive. This is a great opportunity for us, because when by the time we hit next year in the fall, we're gonna come out way ahead of everybody else, because we were doing things the right way, trying to learn about what we need to do to further this program to be in a national level. On the women's side, they ended up 4th, ranked in the country. I really do believe that we're probably one of the top 4 ranked teams, in a normal year. I don't know that you saw our full potential on either side, men's or women. We still are missing pieces. I don't know if people know this, but we were missing pieces on the women's team that were still trying to make their way back. So we weren't full strength on that side of it. And then the guys were so young, they're really going to benefit from that. But we've also picked up some really good transfer students that will come in next year. And then we've picked up some really good young youth on the women's side that's going to come in and hopefully make a really big impact for us. So yeah, as much as, I'm really excited and I get, really amped up about where we are as a program, it's important for me to continue to grow the program and make sure that we're doing all the right things, because just because we have the potential to be a team that can contend for a national title on the women's side and be a top 15 team on the men's side, there's still an extraordinary amount of work that needs to be done, both mentally and physically and academically, that we need to get to. So I'm chomping at the bit. At the same time, I'm going to play the long game with this group of kids, and we're going to keep doing things the right way and making sure that we're ready to go next year in the fall.